Oh, yeah. Another edition of Cannabis News with Joe Klare. It's October 9th, 2018. Presented, as always, by the Marijuana Times. Check us out at marijuanatimes.org. Click the video tab to find this show. There's also a bunch of other great stuff. marijuanatimes.org. A lot of great articles. All of that, go check it out today. Talking about the state of marijuana law reform in Indiana. Also, a pretty garbage editorial from the Boston Herald. I'm not going to mix words. And a new Pew poll. That's right, a new Pew poll about legalization and what Americans think about cannabis legalization, whether they support it, whether they're against it, so on and so forth. You know the basic, you know how polls go. All of that coming up, of course. But first, Cannabis News brought to you by NatureSide, nature-side.com. Side is spelled C-I-D-E. Check out their organic, all-natural pesticides. If you're a cannabis grower in a state where it's legal, you want to be regulatory compliant. You don't want to use harmful chemicals. You don't want to use banned pesticides. You want to grow safe and poison-free. You can do all of these things with NatureSide, nature-side.com, a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Whoops. There you go. Graphic snafu. Sometimes they happen. I'm a director. I'm not as good a director as I'm a broadcaster. And, well, the jury is still out on how good I am at that. So, with all of that said, this first story is from marijuanatimes.org, written by yours truly. The state of marijuana law reform in Indiana. Basically, I got to speak with a representative of Indiana Normal, and I have forgotten his name, and I'm looking for it in the story. Man, it's not going well. Justin C. Justin. Talked to Justin C. from Indiana Normal. He's a member of the board of directors there. Talked about medical marijuana. Basically, there's no thoughts of recreational marijuana being anywhere on the radar in Indiana. They're still on the path to medical marijuana road. The many states completed that journey a long time ago, but Indiana's not one of them. And Indiana's a tough state. Indiana, geographically, first of all, is a lot of rural areas. A lot like Kentucky. We talked about last week or the week before, whenever it was, the article I read about Kentucky. A lot of rural area, not many urban centers, just, mainly nothing but farmland and grassland. And in Kentucky, there's mountains in the east. But there's not a lot of, it's not a progressive, not known as a progressive state when it comes to things like this. I mean, Trump won by 20 points in Indiana. The governor was Mike Pence, who's now vice president. Not exactly a cannabis champion. So it's an uphill battle. But much like Kentucky, they are making headway there in Indiana as well. Every year, they get a little farther in gathering people to their side. And eventually, hopefully in both states, legislatures will pass and governors will sign some sort of medical marijuana legislation. If you want to support them, go check out the link in the description of this video. You can find Indiana Normal, or in the case of Kentucky, Kentuckians for medical marijuana. Check out all of those groups in the links. And like I said, if you're in that state and you want to support them, I would encourage you to do so. This next story is in the Boston Herald. It's an editorial from their editorial staff. Common sense needed for pot shops. Now, first of all, it's a red flag, that common sense. Common sense is often used as a phrase when people need it, when they really can't back up what they're talking about. So they say, oh, well, it's just common sense. I mean, it's just, hey, I can sit here and I can talk about it all day and tell you why and why not. But it's just common sense in the end. Often, it is not. And this editorial is, well, it is not. Starts off like this. Pot shops are inevitable in Massachusetts. Okay. But cities and towns must take a common sense approach when it comes to locating them. As the Herald's Taylor Petaway reports, residents in Belmont are butting heads over whether to zone pot stores in the community. There have been several proposals, including one that would put a pot shop in the vicinity of Belmont High School. And there's where the garbage part comes in. This would be a mistake. Listen to this sentence. A marijuana dispensary is sure to attract an eclectic crowd. Okay, fair enough. And not everyone is going to be suitable to interact with teenagers. What does that mean? They're going to assault the teenagers? They're pedophiles? They're going to sexually or physically assault the teenagers? What does that mean? Why is it okay for a grocery store that sells beer? The guy can go in there and buy 12 packs of beer all day long. Why are the people that go in that grocery store suitable to interact with teenagers that may be in the high school nearby? What about the people who go into Walgreens they have prescriptions for hardcore narcotics? Are those people suitable to interact with teenagers? Or are they also well-known pedophiles and physical assaulters? I don't know. People who go and buy marijuana, likely not everyone's going to be suitable to interact with teenagers. What can't you say that about? What building where people go in and out of is every person in that building suitable to interact with teenagers? That's ridiculous. That's implying that cannabis users are some sort of deviant, some sort of a deviation above or below, however you want to look at it. People who buy a bunch of beer or take a bunch of dangerous narcotics with horrible side effects. No, those are fine. The Walgreens next door, that's cool. The Piggly Wiggly that sells the beer, that's probably not Piggly Wiggly. 7-Eleven, maybe a little more up to date, reference. The 7-Eleven sells beer, wine coolers. Their teenagers love wine coolers. Makes them think they're getting drunk, but it tastes like fruit. And it's not, I'm not done. The next sentence is this. And it is likely that a good number of people visiting the marijuana shops in Belmont will already be thoroughly stoned. First of all, who cares? Who cares? And second of all, that's probably not even true. Are the people who go buy beer already thoroughly drunk? Some of them are, most of them aren't. Most of them wish to get drunk, so they go buy the beer. People going to buy marijuana, they want to smoke marijuana. If they're already stoned and they have a bunch of marijuana, they're not going to the pot store. What a dumb. That's why I said this is garbage. This is an editorial staff for a major city newspaper. Absolute garbage. The Herald staff. All because they don't want pot shops within whatever the magical number of feet is from a high school. It's 1,000 feet. Oh, well, 999 feet, that's an atrocity. 1,001 feet, that's cool. It's fine. Everybody knows teenagers can't walk 1,001 feet. That's crazy. That's like a fifth of a mile. They can't walk a fifth of a mile. They're lazy. This editorial is lazy. Absolute laziness. Just dumb. I mean, I don't normally use that word because it's a dumb word to use for descriptor. But it's dumb. Why would they already be stoned going to the marijuana shop? Oh, I'm really, really stoned. I'm feeling good. You know what I need to do? I need to go out and go somewhere. To the pot shop to buy more weed. No, they're not. People going to the pot shop are people who want to be stoned, many of them, and that's their prerogative. They're adults. Speaking of adults, this last story from PewResearch.org. About 6 in 10 Americans support marijuana legalization. If you're watching the video version of the show, you can see the graphs right there. 62% say use of marijuana should be legalized, reflecting a steady increase over the past decade. According to a new Pew Research Center survey, the share of U.S. adults who support marijuana legalization is little changed from about a year ago, which when it was 61%. But it's double what it was in the year 2000 and 31%. Again, you see the graphs there. Of course, as in the past, there are wide generational and partisan differences in views of marijuana legalization. Of course, majorities of millennials, Gen Xers, and baby boomers say marijuana should be legal, but the older folks are against it. The same with the Democrats, the independents. They're kind of on board, and the leaning Democrat independents. But the Republicans, they're not as on board. And you see this with poll after poll after poll for many years now, the way it breaks down. It's like a big train, and, the young liberal Democrats, at least in this case, in this issue, are leading the train, and they're pointing everybody else along at the back. The really, really old Republicans are like, oh, man, I was told that, marijuana would kill you, and, only the darkies used it or whatever. Whatever Harry Anslinger said back in my day, back in the 30s. So, but it continues apace. Is that the word I'm looking for? It continues to increase. 61 to 62%, that's fine. And as I say about all polls, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Marijuana users, growers, and sellers are not infringing on the rights of anyone else, so they are not committing a crime. But sadly, under the regime of prohibition, polls and popular support and either votes at the ballot box or pressure on state legislators is what's going to get the freedom back to continue to sit peacefully somewhere and smoke marijuana or go to a store and buy it or grow some plants. It's all very dangerous stuff that's be tightly restricted and regulated. And, and those buffers, got to have those buffers, that buffer zone between the high schools. Because, people use marijuana, not suitable some of them are not suitable to interact with teenagers. I don't know. So it's a pretty strong implication. Whatever. That's been Cannabis News. It is October 9th, 2018. Check us out on marijuanatimes.org. Keep sharing, liking, commenting on the videos, all that stuff. I read all your comments. I check them out. And keep spreading the word about cannabis with this show. And we thank you for that. And we'll see you next time right here on Cannabis News.